I have the Massimo Snowblower that fits on a UTV. But if you have some complications with it, they do not have a service manual of any kind. So I blew a set of belts. So what you do, there's a nut bolt there, you take the nut off and you pull that thing off. You set that aside. Then you go inside here and you pull that bolt out. This is a magnet that drives these pulleys. So the easy way is to cut it and put a splice there, because then it goes. And then you take that bolt out of there so that whole piece can come off, because it doesn't serve any purpose. And then you loosen that bolt, and that nut down there, but do not let them fall out because they're square-headed on the back. And to take the tension off the belt, you take that nut loose and that nut loose there, and then you take this one and you want to bring that whole tube up. So there's a nut on the bottom here. Loosen this one and bring the other one up, and you do the same thing on the other side. That'll get these. Then these pulleys, when you take this off, this part will stay there, but you can slide this forward, and there's a keyway in there that slides in real easy. That'll make sure you put it back in, because that's what holds this, turns with the engine, and that turns all the time with the engine. But this is a magnet that catches and pulls, makes it all work together. Otherwise, they're spinning free. Then obviously, all the 4 bolts over here and that rod, they gotta be, you wanna take that rod and you wanna bring it up, because that takes the tension off the pulleys. I didn't understand it, but when you pull this up, that takes the tension off them pulleys. Then you go underneath, and let's see, go underneath there. I'll go down here. Underneath here's the pulleys. And what you have to do is you have to make sure the front pulley belt goes on the front pulley and on the back one. And you do them first, then you go on top. And they'll be fairly tight yet, but then you work them on. You work that on there, and then when you get the first one on, then you work the second one on. But they got to be, this got to be front, that back, and then to reassemble it, you just put this magnetic thing back on there, and you tighten that bolt, and that holds it on there. So this just pivots, and this keeps it from pivoting. So that's how you change the belts. So. But then you go, and then when you change those belts, don't tighten the 2 bottom bolts, the 2 bottom ones there, and leave them loose, because that's what pulls that bottom cage down, which I'll show you. What it does is this moves this whole plate up and down to tighten the pulleys. The engine's held separate. Then underneath, you have a plate like this that you have to take off, which is hard to do because you got to pull it over that bar. So I just cut it off and made 2 pieces and put ears on it, and it bolts right up and covers everything on the bottom. This is why I had to, first thing, I don't have many, I have a couple hours on it. First thing I did, I blew a set of belts. But couldn't understand why, but I looked in there and everything was loose. Nothing was tightened up, the chain or anything. So I put a new set of belts on, went out and ran it for a little while, and I broke a chain. So the next thing I did, I go, what in the world, where would the chain break? Well, when I looked down in there, this bottom pulley's here, and the top 2 pulleys are over here. They're way out, they're not in alignment. They slid in this shaft. And so I want to know how to get that all out of there. When you take these 2 bolts out of here, they're fun to get back in there, but then that'll all slide out. And then when it slides out, I had to get this I had to get this piece back together. Let's put it this way. You should never have to take this out unless you break a chain. And then they don't tell you which one goes forward, but this one goes forward because it has to have room for because the gear, the bearings are right up here. So it has to have room so it doesn't touch. So that's how I figured out, this is the back, and that's the front. But what happened is that, let's see. Anyway, that gear was in here, and it was damaged. But then when I looked down, that pulley was way back there. So I called him and asked him, how do I get the pulley off to loosen it? Because you gotta loosen this part up here. Well, you can see, he said there's a keyway in there. So I go like this. I go, okay, how do I find out what size the keyway is? And I cut some off and tried to find it, but I had no idea how to get it out of there. So he said, I'll just send you a whole new unit. That's when I found out the pulley, this cog gear was bad. And so somebody gave me an idea that if you have to take it off, you go over here, opposite side where the hole is right here, and you drill right through the pulley. It won't hurt anything. Then you can get down in there and take it off. But they gave me a whole new unit. They were real good about it. Then on this one, I took the yellow cover off because it was in the way for what I was doing. And I added this servo here. You can buy those real cheap at Amazon. This electric servo, and it tips the chute up and down. And this is their gearing. You got to press a button inside, and that turns the chute. But it froze up on me, so I greased it, but that didn't help. So I just put a rubber cover over it, and for a little bit it worked fine. So that's
Talk about the alignment.
Pardon?
Talk about the alignment of the chain.
Oh, then what you do, you're not taking the chain off, but you'd have to look down in there and see that these pulleys are lined up, and it's quite hard. And the way I did to see if the chain was tight is I put a loop end of this, and I pulled it by hand. But you can get in there, and to tell how tight the pulleys are and belts, you reach behind here, you get your fingers in there, and you pull them, and it could be a little tight, but it's not bad. That's how you tell they're tight. Then you put the magnet back on, put that bolt in with the key lock, and you put this back together, tighten that bolt, and you tighten that bolt, and these two you leave loose. So he said when you go in there, face down in here, to tighten the chain, this bottom sprocket, he said to put a bar in here and push that down. Well, that's very hard to tell what you do. So that's why you don't tighten these last two bolts. So I did a different system. I put the pulleys on, the belts on, then I went underneath. This is where that plate is, and I went underneath, and I put this system hooked to that part of that housing, and then I pulled it down. So I'm pulling the chain tight this way so I can have better control. But when you put the pulleys on first, it's pretty tight, and then but they don't have it level if you're doing it the other way. Then you just tighten the two bolts up. I just got these two tight and tighten the side. Then you're all set, and then put the cover back on.